Julie, can you call the roll, please?
Kara Caston.
Here.
Ken Dawson.
Here.
Sherelle Fuller.
Here.
Don Renner.
Here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, having a quorum, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Hank, I'm going to turn this over to you for student recognitions.
All right, we have a few people joining us tonight. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm going to invite Principal Lip up to start with South High recognition.
Good evening. I'm so happy to be back with more celebrations from Downers Grove South. We've had a really, really good year, and our celebrations just continue. We are recognizing tonight students from Skills USA, which is one of our academic competitions where students get to show off what they learn in the classroom and be recognized for that. I'm going to introduce Mark Molinari, who's going to talk about what our students achieved, how they achieved it, and then we have a student who's going to speak as well. And Mark is speaking on behalf of Brandy Palmerin and Ryan Altenberg. They are 3 advisors from South High Skills USA team.
Thank you. Ryan is coaching volleyball tonight, and Brandy's son is graduating from middle school tonight, so she is attending there. So I am speaking on behalf of all of us. First of all, thank you to the board and for all the support. We were able to take around 70 kids to Skills USA State. It's held in Springfield. All the students have to qualify. And we compete a bunch of different competitions, from engineering to 3D design and animation to architecture, technical spelling, you can see, and we even had somebody place 5th place in speech this year. So Skills USA is, okay. So Skills USA just is our group. They compete in different competitions, which could be from nail care to cosmetology. I think we're going to celebrate somebody a little bit later on, to diesel tech. And we just kind of focus in on the engineering and some of the ones that we have here. We feel very blessed that we have the opportunity to take the kids down there. We leave on a Thursday and then we come back on Saturday. So it's a long 3 days with a lot of hotel rooms and a lot of prayers that everything goes well for all of us. But I would like to I'm going to invite Ben Burek up here for a second. Come on up, Ben. And Ben, you just kind of talk about just the experience down there and how it went for you. This is...
Yeah, it was all really cool. It was right after our senior awards night, so after getting recognized for that, it was really cool to go down and just compete. After training for 2 years, I was in architecture, so I got the opportunity to give it a second shot. And it's a really cool competition. There's a whole bunch of different categories, but for architecture, we had to, they gave us a floor plan, and we had to just basically copy it to the best of our ability, and just, I don't know, who could just do it the best in the amount of time that we have. It's just a huge time crunch.
All right, thanks, Ben. So just real quick, we did place first place in 3D design and animation, so that's Troy Gravine and Summit Shaw. If you guys just want to stand really quick, they're the state champions. This was their second year going down, and it was a tough competition. It's Lockport and Downer South are always going at it, and they were able to pull it off, so it was really good. And then
Before you move on,
yep. Oh.
So for any of our first and second place finishers, the Village of Downers Grove and the Village of Woodridge has recognized them with proclamations. We have a variety of them here for Troy and Summit, recognizing their work in, 3D visualization and animation. So in the end, they recognize all of the work, and then Mayor Barnett has declared Thursday, May 23rd as Troy and Summit Day. Congratulations. And the Village of Woodridge also joined in on the fun. And let's see. congratulates them both on their accomplishment, proclaims today as Troy and Summit. Keep going.
So we have,
I'm just jumping in as we get past each
we have
student.
Alex Burek, came back and he took second place in architectural drafting and lost to the girl who took second in the nation last year. It was a very tough competition. So they did really, really well. We came in second place, so congratulations, Alex.
Well done, Alex.
Alex, Village of Downers Grove and Mayor Barnett has declared Friday, May 24th as Alex Burke Day. And I believe the Village of Woodridge is celebrating all of our Skills USA students today, so today is also named in your honor in the Village of Woodridge. So congratulations.
So Alex Arnheimer, Nathan Benema, Zach Hotner, and Donnie is not with us tonight. Took second place in engineering technology design. Oh, Donnie is back there. All right. So congratulations to them. Ms. Palmerin is their advisor, and they work on a project for during the semester and go down and present it down there. And so it's a tough competition as well.
And as second place finishers, the Village of Downers Grove has declared Monday, May 27th in Donnie, Nathan, Zach, and Alex's honor. And the Village of Woodridge today is also.
And then Audrey took second place in technical spelling. She competed in two things and then came back and did really well in badminton as well. Didn't qualify for state in badminton as well. So she went down. She had senior awards night, came down, competed on Friday, then hustled back and then made it to state in badminton.
Wow.
Awesome. The Village of Downers Grove has declared Thursday, May 30th in Audrey's honor is her day. And Mayor Cunningham in Woodridge has named today also in her honor. All right, congratulations to everybody involved in Skills USA itself.
Before we move on, could you
Yeah.
give a quick explanation of what technical spelling?
I've never taken the test. We should ask Audrey.
Yeah, where's Audrey? Come on up. We'll put you on the spot.
Question is, what is technical spelling?
I don't really know.
What's you on second place?
I just kind of signed up for it, but it was 100 words, and it's just multiple choice, like which one is correct, basically.
I know the words technical.
Kind of. There were a lot of some of them were architecture related, and some of them were like culinary related. I think
Okay.
there were some foods on there. I don't know. It's a bunch of random words.
Do you remember one word, any of them?
Broccoli was on there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members or comments on South High Skills USA?
For the engineering one, what was the time limit that you guys had to work with?
Engineering kids are in the back. So Donnie, do you want to?
Come on up, Donnie.
Just explain, come on up and explain your guys' competition.
He asked what was the time limit on the engineering?
In terms of structuring everything, or?
Yeah, or just tell us about how it worked.
Well, the way our school is structured, we have a class on it. It's called Engineering Design and Development. So we spend basically the entire, both semesters actually, working on this project in preparation for Skills USA. So I'd say I don't know how other schools differ, but for us it was the entire school semester. We took it down there, we made a presentation board, project of course, and then we had to present it to various judges.
And what was your topic or that you presented on, like
So
the actual project?
Our goal was to solve the discomfort that comes with lawn mowing, like at-home lawn mowing. So what we actually designed was an FPV lawnmower, so basically a remote-controlled lawnmower with a camera on it, which should allow you to mow your lawn from the comfort of your own home.
And when is that going to be available?
Once we get some funding. Once I graduate college. We'll see. But it was a great time there. Yeah, my teammates are here. Zach Cotner, Nathan Benema. Couldn't have done it without the two of them. Alex isn't with us here today. I don't see him. But it was a team effort. So props to them.
I just want to take a moment. I know the village does such a nice job of recognizing our first and second place finishers, but in District 99, you can see we invite all of our sixth place and higher finishers to be here. So I just really wanted to congratulate all of our students who are here, having your name publicly recognized, and give you a chance to stand up and just be recognized for sixth place and higher. And we'll take a picture in a little bit. Everyone could join for a picture.
Come on up, let's get a picture of all of our award winners together. We'll all find a spot.
Can three rows. Can you guys figure out how to squat down?
Thank you for asking. It's confusing.
All right.
Oh yeah, yep, get in here.
1, 2, 3. You've got skills.
All right, parents, if you want to hop in and get a photo, go ahead. If you want to give. All right, congratulations, everybody. Well done.
All right, no worries. I got it. It's musical chairs. Yeah.
You know, most tempted to go hide things right behind that.
All right, so this is similar but different. We have two students who competed also in Skills USA, the same spot, and do compete for South High, but also represent our Technology Center of DuPage when they're there. So it's considered kind of two distinctions. So we have two students tonight, second place and a third place, who are also Skills USA. We're going to take their pictures separate, even though it also goes together. So they're kind of representing the TCD team, but of course there are South High students, so we celebrate them too. So Vanatas and Allison, are you here? Allison, come on up. Yeah, Vanatas is not here, but he's second. So Allison, come join me. I didn't prep her that this was going to happen. But Allison, do you want to just talk just a little bit about what you did when you were there?
No. Even if you don't want to.
Okay, so when I was there, I did a men's haircut, and it was just like kind of like a regular basic haircut. And then I had to do an updo, and then what did I do? I had to do a regular haircut, but it was like it was a butterfly cut, so it was like a special kind of haircut. So I did 2 haircuts, an updo. That was it, I think.
Awesome.
And an interview. They like interviewed you randomly, but that was that too. Yeah, that was it.
Kind of like
It was
tonight.
third in state, so it's amazing.
Yeah.
So we'll take a picture with just you now.
Just me.
Or maybe we could have Northhigh's TCD
She's
student
not here
too.
tonight.
Here.
Yeah,
Yes,
she couldn't
just
make it
you.
tonight. I'm
Congratulations. All right, so board can be
Sure.
I know.
Should have done my hair a little bit.
Oh, she's here.
She can do your hair for you.
There we go.
Now we're all balanced.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
Oh, let's parent picture. Gotta wait. All right.
Got it.
You got Ready?
Yep.
All right. For North High, good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to talk about a couple of our students tonight. And unfortunately, Desi could not be here. She had to work tonight, but I still want to recognize her. She also competed for TCD, but for North High. So as Arwen was explaining, kind of both of those entities. But she placed first place in the category of aesthetics. And I'm going to read a little bit about what they do, because obviously this is kind of a new thing for a lot of people. And so they don't really know what the competition is like. And so it's, again, a day-long competition where they have interviews, pretty in-depth interviews with people. But Desi had to do things like prove sanitation and hygiene. She also had to provide a facial and makeup to models while judges observed and critiqued their abilities to do that. And so she, again, got first place in aesthetics. So congratulations to Desi. And again, I know she couldn't be here, but I'm so excited to and happy to be able to recognize her. She graduated yesterday, too, and she actually plans to go to the G Skin and Beauty Institute in Oak Brook to continue the career in aesthetics. So congratulations to Desi. So next up, switching gears just a little bit, we have a very special award that we wanted to talk about and recognize tonight. And I'm actually going to call up both of these women, Crystal Zaragoza, our color guard coach, and Angelina Antonio, who received this award. So come on up. This was a very prestigious award in the world of color guard and winter guard. And so I'm going to actually turn it over to Crystal to talk about the award that Angelina received.
Okay, so we compete in what's called the Midwest Color Guard Circuit. That is what we compete in for Winter Guard, and it encompasses a lot of teams within the Midwest, as its name implies. There is only one of these Commander's Medallion Awards given every single year to one student of the 80, there's like 85 units that are in this unit. So not students, like units from different schools that are in this circuit. So for her to have received this in such a big circuit is a really big deal. She received this. She's got her shiny medal here. If you want to show it off.
Oh, yeah.
For her outstanding leadership, which I can very much so attest to. She's been an absolutely exceptional leader, really just like the best of the best. And we have been so lucky to have her on our team. And really that's what the award is signifying, her outstanding leadership, not only for her teammates, also her community, and also staff, just all of those aspects. It takes a lot to be a leader, and you can be a leader for one group or the other, but to be able to encompass being a leader and having those aspects come in with all of those different communities is really great and exceptional. So, yes.
A few words, please.
Yeah, could you share a little bit about like, highlight from the season? Like, what would you like to share?
Oh man, I've been the captain for the Winter Guard team for 2 years, and then this past fall season for marching band, I was DGN's first color guard originated drum major. So that's not a very like typical thing, just in the marching band world in general. And that was a really great experience to have, probably one of my favorites. But from this season, I loved my team so much. Just out of all the years I've been on the team, and it's been such like a connecting moment. I feel like this team has got really close this year, and we had a lot of freshmen on the team, at least like 10 out of like 24, so a good majority of new people joining in and realizing that they also share a love of winter guard and color guard and performing and spinning and things like that. So that was really awesome to see.
Angelina, did you just graduate? Are you a senior?
Yes, yeah, I just graduated.
And are you planning on continuing to do this in college, or
maybe? I'm going to St. Louis University, and they don't have a marching band or a guard. But okay. I heard that there's a winter guard somewhere in St. Louis, so I'll try to look into that just so I can keep up, maybe a little bit. It's good. It's good exercise, so that kind of like pushes me to be a little active. So I'll hopefully try to get into that somewhere. But.
Cool. Awesome. All right.
All right, let's grab a picture of him.
Sure.
I can go that way. No, we got the double size here.
Yeah, I've been there. I came inside.
I'll go this way. No, okay, you go ahead. You don't have to move again. I'm just gonna slide over here. I'm gonna hold this dress. I already
That likes to hide in the back. Right, wait, we need mom. No.
All right, and then I have one staff recognition, and if I could please have Anthony Calderon come up here, please. Thank you. So I do want to say a few words about Anthony. So Anthony was inducted into the Badminton Coaches Hall of Fame, which is really incredible. So I have a couple of things to read. And actually, even before I came to North, I heard about the badminton team. It's legendary at North. And so Anthony has actually, this is his 30th year of being the head coach of our girls badminton team. So the award, this Hall of Fame, recognizes his years of excellence as a badminton coach and the countless student athletes that he has impacted. So he has had many, many women qualify for state over the years, and including this year. And then he has had at least 6 top 4 finishes at state. And he's been the coach of 3 state badminton championship teams. So 02-03, 03-04, and 05-06. And so, again, Anthony inducted into the Hall of Fame for the badminton coaches. So if you would like to say a few words.
You didn't tell me about that.
I was afraid you would not.
No, obviously it was an honor for me to get it, and I was telling some of the other coaches, the thing that honored me the most probably is, if any of you guys are familiar with New Trier's badminton program, it's kind of a niche crew. They asked us to do like a bio for, kind of awkward writing about yourself, and these things. It was really kind of a weird experience. But I was reading through some of the previous honorees, and I read hers because she was a big mentor of mine, and she had put me down as one of the people most influential to her. And to me, I honestly felt more about that than this, to be honest, but if you know the badminton world, you kind of understand that. But, the school and the district has been really supportive over the years, so I couldn't have asked for a better situation, so it's been great. So I'm really honored by it. So, thank you.
I coached badminton for 10 years before I moved into administration, and I lost to Coach Calderon a lot and to his girls. But, he is well known in circles. He is well respected. He's been a great leader in the sport for a very long time. And it's great to see you recognized in this way for all your years of experience. So thank you for all you've done.
Thanks.
Thank you.
If you don't want us up there, we're good. You might want a solo.
Where are you going?
Oh, no, I'm going to go this way.
Wait, okay. Go this way.
Yeah, get us out of our seats.
We don't have any family pictures today, though. My mom's not here today.
All right, 1, 2, 3, say birdie.
Thanks, appreciate it. Well done, George. Thanks.
Okay. Two of my musical chairs.
All right, that includes the recognition part of our program. It is a public meeting, so everybody is more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. However, if you would like to go, this would be the time to head on out. So thank you all for being here, and congratulations, everybody.
Thank you guys for having us. It's been great for you.
Okay. let's just wait one more second.
Yeah.
Guys ready?
Thank you so much for coming.
Okay. I'd like to move to approval of minutes. Can I get a motion for the Board of Education to approve the minutes of the April 15th, 2024 business meeting, the May 6th, 2024 workshop meeting, and the May 13th, 2024 Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Kara moves, Ken seconds.
Thank you. Kara Caston.
Aye.
Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Abstain.
And Don Renner.
Yeah, it's okay because we have a quorum. Yep. Yeah, aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. All right. Item 5, reception of visitors. Do we have any?
No, sir.
No count, no slips. Okay, turn over to you, Hank, for item 6.
On my way there. All right, introduction of new student board members. I'll invite our principals up to do recognitions here.
It does not matter.
We need to flip a coin.
Please. Okay. Hello, everybody. It is my pleasure to announce Rayhan Hashim as our student board member for North High School. I'm so excited that he is a part of this board now. He really stuck out in our interview process, and we were just really excited to have his experiences here at the board level, and I know that he will offer so much wisdom and perspective of our student body. He is traveling to Berlin this summer to the World Leadership Conference with our group that's traveling to Europe, so he will be visiting a lot of different places this summer, along with a family trip, but we were just really, really excited to have Rayhan as a part of our board. So welcome, Rayhan, if you'd like to come up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rayhan, as you know. I'm a rising senior. So thank you to Dr. Dement for, seeing my potential and, helping me become a part of this board. And I'm excited to work with all of you guys in the future to, better District 99. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you. You can flip up his name tag, and then he can go be seated.
From South, I get to recognize Jason Trejo and introduce him as our new student board representative. Jason's been a member of our Principal Student Advisory Council for the last 2 years, where we just problem solve a variety of student issues, and I just love Jason's approach to problem solving. He's sometimes quieter, reflective, takes a moment, and then comes up with something just so profound that students who are more like me, who just talk, to process how we get there, we need people like Jason in our space, and I'm just so happy he's here. So Jason is a big leader in our building too, student council, class board, Model UN, change makers, other things I'm forgetting, but I'll let Jason introduce himself.
Thank you, Ms. Lip. Yeah, so I'm Jason Trejo, and I'm super excited to have a great year with you guys, and all I have to say is that I promise to do nothing short of my best, and I'm super excited. Thank you.
Come on over, Jason.
Welcome.
Well, to our new board members, what I'd like to say is, I'd like to challenge the two of you that as we proceed over the next year to speak up and voice your opinions. You're here not just to be going through a perfunctory role to put something on a resume. We want to hear from you, and we value your opinions. And so if you have concerns from a student's perspective, that's exactly why we want you to participate on this board, because hearing from students directly is something that this board takes very seriously. So keep your eyes peeled and your ears to the ground, and let us know of issues that arise, okay? And welcome very much. Really happy to have you here.
And on behalf of the administration, welcome. And always, if you have questions, comments, concerns of anything that's happening at the board meeting or across the district, make sure that you reach out to me or to Principal Lip or Principal Dement with those questions or concerns, and we're happy to address them just like we do for any of our board members. So welcome.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so I think we're on.
We are moving on
Yep.
to, I missed a couple of slides here.
Um,
We'll invite Julia Beckman. I know she's new to board meetings, but
Right, I know, I just don't know how you guys do things anymore.
Julia is here representing the District 99 Education Foundation for kind of a year in review here for
A
us.
little bit of a review, and Donna Dawson, who is known to all of you as well, will be joining me. And we are also joined by Pam Califoot, one of our board members who came for moral support. It is really a joy to be back here, I must say. We want to bring greetings to all of you on the Board of Education, to the superintendent and our staff members. We also wish to thank you for your continued support of the foundation. I actually left the board, walked down the hall, and became a board member, and then became president. So I've been there for a few years now. And we give special thanks to Kara Kasten and Terry Pavicic, who attend as liaisons from the board. We wanted to give you a brief summary of our activities this year, since we haven't really appeared for many months since COVID, and we hope to change that. We'll give you a look at our financial condition, which is pretty strong. And Ms. Dawson, who is our grants coordinator, will present a summary of grants over the past several months. And I just have to say, it's a joy to be on the foundation, because it's wonderful to be able to help the teachers and our families out. So, because as you know, the foundation we paused our large fundraisers since COVID. So I'm not asking you to get out your checkbooks tonight, but you might want to think about it, but for later. But well, Pizza Wars was always a huge success, some of you will recall. We do need more people power to stage it. And so we've taken a little break on the fundraisers, but we've also found that targeted fundraising by mail and email for specific goals are very effective. Some examples are the Family Support Fund, which we started during COVID, which generated approximately $20,000 in donations for our families who were in need, and a lot of them were in need. And also, we had the very special COVID face shield program, which generated some $15,000, and I think about 5,000 face shields were sent to various places all over the country because people needed them at the beginning of COVID. So in 2024 so far, we have given $11,150 for the students and staff of District 99. In 2023, we gave quite a bit more. We gave $46,400 because we were closing out one of our restricted grants, the PAPAS Fund, which went to, I believe, kids in theater, and they were wanting to close that out. That was about $20,000. But we're very proud of this number. Total grants since our first year, which was 1995, $557,582. I don't want to leave out the $2. That's almost $1 million that we've given out to teachers. Our current balance is approximately $130,000 in our bank accounts, and we are very proud that our administrative costs are right about 7%. It's basically for our we have only volunteers for our website, and sometimes Jill helps us too with pictures. Additionally, we have personally presented award checks to honorees at Downers Grove South and North for AVID. We've done that for the last several years. A $1,000 check goes to one honoree at each campus, and we love that event. And although we no longer fund the incubator programs at both schools, we did serve as judges in the early and final competitions this year, and 3 of us were the only judges from our board, so we felt very responsible. But all these programs are really an inspiration. I just have always been so proud of what District 99 does for its students. And the incubator programs, they come up with some great ideas, but then they graduate and they go away. So we hope that they don't let those programs die with them. So we look forward next year to co-sponsoring the Speaker for the Teacher Institute. That's something new for us. In August, I believe, and in continuing to fund innovative grants created by teachers. We also will, of course, continue to fund our family fund and the Angel Fund at both high schools, which helps, again, students and families in need. with your board's consent, we will again present the large checks to grantees at meetings beginning in the fall, because we always thought that was fun. And we'll continue to provide gift cards to families, as I said. So without further ado, let me present Donna Dawson, who's right behind me. She'll give you a summary of the grants we've donated in 2023-24. Thanks.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Julie. Julia. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Just to give you an overall view of how do you get a learning grant, right? What is the criteria? The first criteria is that it needs to be something that's innovative, an innovative classroom project, such as a 3D printer, right? Also, what's important to us is that we like to fund or seed new programs, new projects. So for example, this year, we funded the Tree Plenish program that was in collaboration with the Earth Day celebration. So as Julia said, this year, and we've given out almost $1 million, this year, during the school year 23-24, our funding across Downer South, North, and T99, excuse me, was over $15,000 with a $2,000 maximum per fund. So what I like to do is share with you some of the funding across the different schools, the different departments, kind of highlight what we've done, okay? I think a lot of it is pretty cool. So 34% was awarded to special services, and that allowed them to purchase a craft printer for their micro business at North, Downers North. 17% went to the science department, and just like I mentioned, the Tree Plenish program, that's where a portion of that went, to that program. 13% went to the library, and that was to fund an author and an illustrator. They brought them in, and that was to cover the speaker fees. 13% went to fine art. Funding was used to purchase music directly from the composer with the goal to enable each member of the diverse student body to see themselves reflected in their band experience. This one was a cool one. 13% went to engineering. They purchased a drone so that students can learn about aerodynamics, electronics, and programming. 6% went to world language to purchase diverse text for the English language program. And then 4% went to CSSS, and that was in support of the Next for College Knowledge program. And the funding was used for transportation to allow students to visit public and private colleges. So as we prepare for the next school year, we are refreshing the learning grant policy because we want to make sure that we continue to align ourselves with the evolving educational needs and the objectives of D99, so we as a board can continue to support the various initiatives. Any questions? So this is for both of you guys. When we're talking about being philanthropic, we never want to miss an opportunity for two things. One, how do you volunteer? I know you mentioned you need volunteers, so just we could say it on camera. And then two, how do you give money? Where do we go to do that?
Oh, of course, we should always mention that.
You should always mention that.
Talk about that really quick. If you would like to volunteer, you can go to our website, the D99 Education Foundation website. And on the website, you will find all the information you need about volunteering. There's a place for you to enter your information, and it will go to our lovely president, and she will reach out to you.
And you can punch the donate button, too.
All right, it's all there.
And you can actually select a couple of funds. To donate
Exactly.
to
They're all listed.
If you want a special donation. Thank you for bringing that up.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, and that website is d99ef.org.
That's right, thank you, .org.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Great, thank you.
No,
Thank you very much.
great work. Thank you for all you're doing.
Great work.
We look forward to seeing you back in the fall with big checks again.
Very big checks, yes.
One thing I'd like to say, it's really fantastic the work you guys are doing, and that you've done almost $1 million is just mind-boggling. It really is, and it's one step, 1 year at a time. The dedication and commitment is amazing. So definitely look forward to a new school year, new innovative grants, new volunteers, new people donating, and moving forward. Thank you guys for all you do.
Thank you.
All right. Next item. This is just a quick overview of the work that we've been working through pretty much since, I guess, through the second half of the school year. One of the goals of the board was for us to take our strategic plan, which is about 2 years old now, and start tying to it indicators and measures of success. So what are some actual measurables that indicate that we are making progress on that strategic goal? It's also part of my goals with the board. So, and it was also an expectation that we did this in a collaborative manner and brought in a lot of voice into the process. So what this really focuses on within the strategic plan, we have our 4 strategic directions. The indicators and measures that we've been putting together is 2 to 3 things for each of these strategic directions. The other thing that we heard this year in our staff morale feedback was trying to narrow down the scope of our work so that everybody knows really what is at the most important level. And this has been an exercise in figuring that out this year as well. So as we went into this work, we know that there's a lot in the strategic plan that we are just naturally doing. But we want to make sure that for areas of the strategic plan where we have areas to grow, that we're setting goals of reaching everybody. So you'll see when the indicators and measures come to you over the next few board meetings, as we move past these final draft stage, that we're going to have information in there both measuring how much we're meeting the intended piece, but also coming up with strategies for closing the gap where we are not meeting, so that it's not just, well, we're at this % of the metric, we hope we get better, right? That it's actually, we have a plan for that, and any student that isn't meeting, that we identify them by name and need and start to close the gap on an individual student by student basis. So this is kind of just to give you an idea of what the format looks like. There's really 2 pieces to each of this. There's the public-facing side, which is on the left, which is really those measures and indicators, the benchmarks, where we're starting, how often we'll report out, where we were at the last time we reported, and then the supportive measures, where are we working to close the gaps. And then we'll inform the board and the public of when we're going to report out next. We know that these types of things usually have a lot of jargon and edu-speak in them, so we're making sure that our public-facing document also contains key terms and what do we mean by what we've put there. So one of these will be presented for each of the four strategic directions. And then internally for the administrative team and all of our staff, we will have an action document that really looks at what are we actually doing in that supportive piece to close those gaps, and who's responsible for it, who's reporting out on it, who's measuring those metrics, and then ultimately, who is the core team that's leading that work in the district. So we're getting close to having these and moving these forward in public with the board. We just wanted to update you kind of on the progress that we're moving through this. We have shared with the board all of this preliminary draft work leading to the actual public documents. And through this, we've involved the administrative team, the district leadership team, which includes all of the department chairs and the administrators. And we've also invited union leadership in to those meetings to provide their perspective in the work as well. Then there's some back and forth between administrative and leadership teams, ultimately leading to the third draft, where it was sent out to the entire staff, and the entire staff could provide comments, suggestions, and ask questions. Jill and I also went over last week to each of the buildings during lunch hours, and staff could drop by and ask questions or make suggestions at that point. So it's kind of where we're at in the progress. What we eventually want to have is this one-page public document. Jill's done a lot of fine work in trying to narrow down this so that it's presentable and understandable. So there'll be this one-page kind of cover page of our indicators and measures, and then underneath each of the strategic directions will be a more in-depth look at the work that we're doing around that. And then we'll report out on each of those measures periodically throughout the year, depending on what makes sense for each of the metrics that we're looking at. So more on this coming, ultimately leading to hopefully board approval of these at the beginning of August in advance of the next school year. So that's our work to this point. Questions from any board members on just kind of how we've laid this out and where we're going? We'll
Very
get into the
exciting.
actual
I love it.
details.
I love the one pager. I love I think just having some key things we can all be talking about out in the community is great. So I love it. I appreciate it sounds like a lot of work has gone into this. So thank you for that. Looking forward to discussing it more, but I think it's going to be very well received.
Thank you.
Sometimes the process of just going through this evaluation is almost as important as the measurements.
Yeah.
Can you comment on that and how that's improved upon your team and the
Yeah.
impact of going through that process?
Well, it's been interesting as we look at, the committee that put together the strategic plan, and once again, Jill led a lot of that work with that committee. Kara, you were part of that committee as well. It was a lot of community, student, and staff input on that. And a lot of the overarching goals are all things we aspire to do. However, some of the things in here are things we're already doing at a very high level. So I'll just pick one of these, the recruitment, retention, and support of high-quality teachers and staff. Once we started digging into that metric, you'll see we have this kind of overall an expectation statement that's under there. So expectation is 100% of our staff members will experience and contribute and will be supported in creating a collaborative and supportive culture of growth, right? It's really looking at that high quality and the supportive piece, but there's not a lot in that statement around recruitment and retention. Because across the board, we really don't have a lot of gaps in recruitment and retention. So really digging into the strategic directions and finding the areas where we have clear areas where we can improve is what our focus was. So I think people would look at that statement and say, okay, where's the recruitment metric? We don't need one because we don't have a lot of positions that are being left open, right? And retention, we don't have a lot of people leaving and we don't know what the circumstances are that led to that, right? So there's not big mysteries on those two or spots where we see major gaps that we have to change. It's more maintaining our practices. But we did hear in our feedback this year from our staff, in our staff survey, is that we do have some gaps in professional learning and professional development. And they were high areas in the staff morale survey for our non-certified staff. So our custodial, our CMG group, our security group, our support staff association really sees staff morale being closely tied to our ability to help grow skills in those areas. So, the data we've been gathering over the whole course of the year points to that's where we need to focus in this strategic direction. So each of these have some, like, if we listed everything we were doing great at, that's not the point of this exercise. The point of this is where do we have room to grow to better meet our strategic plan? So I think you're going to see that in these 2 or 3 areas, which the board has talked about, like what is the core areas of focus that we need to drill in on? And I think you're going to see this as we present this over the next few board meetings, that we've really narrowed our focus, which is also in line when you look at the feedback from the certified staff, was we need to really narrow in and not have so many things we're all working on all at the same time, but what are the core things that we can focus on that will give us our biggest bang for our buck and will tie directly into the expectations that the board has outlined for us. So I think we're going to give you that over the next few board meetings. You'll have the opportunity to provide feedback and tweak any of the verbiage here, and we'll kind of dive deeper as we go through the summer, because we'll have 2 more board meetings before I actually bring it to you for request for your approval and what those are.
I also think it's a really good idea to designate who's responsible for these metrics, so that there's clear understanding from everyone and the district as to who's leading that aspect of the strategic plan. So,
yeah, when we look at indicators and measures, sometimes it seems simple to pull a number. Like, let's say we were talking about failures. Well, are you talking about the number of Fs or the number of students with Fs? Are you talking about over the course of the year, by semester, or every 6 weeks, right? So it seems simple on the front end to pick a data point and measure it, but then clearly defining it and determining who's going to own that and track it. There's a lot of minutia there that you need to work out, and really identifying who's going to be the person that carries that forward was really important as we did this work.
And also determining, is it trackable, right? The best
Yes.
way, because that's sometimes a challenge too. You have a goal, and you're like, that sounds great. If you don't put this other part on it, the measure of success, you won't get the end result you're looking for, so.
That's a great point, Sherelle. And for some of these, we don't yet have a perfect way to track it. And that's kind of some of our work in the first half of the year.
Okay.
You'll see in some of these, as I bring them to you in the next couple of board meetings, that the benchmark is to be determined like by the middle of next year or the end of next year, as we work on defining that data point and a way to collect and measure that data point over the course of the next school year.
Yeah, I appreciate the thought going into what to measure, right? We're not just measuring for measuring's sake, and that teacher example is a great one, right? And we all know from things we see in surrounding districts, right? Retention is like, well, we don't want to be getting to that point. Once you get to that point, it takes a long time to come back from that. So I appreciate I appreciate that. I was part of that committee, and there were teachers representing, but you're right, it's a lot of things underlying that lead to, teachers leaving, so.
We also didn't want to replicate the data that you're already getting through other sources, right? So what is the core, you're getting a lot of things already. Some will cross over, but, and we also wanted things that were truly actionable, that we could see that the work we were doing was having an impact on those numbers.
And I think it really says a lot about D99 that we're in such a strong position when it comes to recruitment and retention. And that really shows the level of excellence that we are providing under your leadership. And that's something that we should all be very thankful for.
No doubt.
Remind me, how frequently do we do strategic plans? I was just curious. You said it's been,
well,
it's probably been a weird.
There's no real cycle. The last one before this was 2013, but I would say that was broken into 2 pieces. There was the instructional vision, and then there was the facility vision, was part 2 of that strategic plan. So I would say that was a 10-year strategic plan and 2 5-year parts, right?
Got it.
And now that we knew we would be starting this up when the facilities were coming to an end. Obviously, the pandemic slowed down this work a little bit, but I think we're poised in a really good spot to have. I would imagine that, you've committed to me for the next 5 years, and we really are getting rolling into this core part of this strategic plan. I would think that the board would either consider strategic planning in advance of the next superintendent, or would make that part of kind of their first 100 days in the district or first year in the district, because that is a great opportunity to kind of like learn the community and learn the district and play a part in shaping the vision of what comes next.
Right.
So I would think that that's when, it's around that time that you would look at doing this.
Thanks.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Plus, for these indicators and metrics you're picking, you're going to want enough time to see, are we actually making growth in those areas? You know?
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Next 3 board meetings, this will be a topic we will revisit. Okay, proposed amended school calendar. This really looks at collaboration time. If you remember, last couple of surveys and then the survey that Ryan came and presented on a few weeks ago, you had groups that were going to work on pieces to respond to that. Ryan, Gina, and I were tasked with department collaboration time. And when we say department collaboration time, this is looking at all departments across the district. So it includes our support staff, our security, our CMG, and that group. And as I mentioned in my last part of the evening, what came through the staff morale survey was in those groups a real need for time where they can get together and learn together. We also have a new student information system coming in the next year, and there's going to need to be in those groups, some of those groups, a lot of training, right? So we need a little bit of time when students aren't here, because a lot of those folks in that first top piece, we can't free up time while students are here for them to be free to engage in professional learning, because they are supervising things like the commons or security at the front door, or taking care of students with one-on-one needs and those kinds of things. We also heard from our teachers and from the DGA was that especially with some of the grading changes that we've been working on, our course teams need time where they are all free at the same time. And our professional learning model has 1/3 of them free at a time. So we need to carve out a couple of times each year. This is a 1-year ask to do it this way, to provide us some time over the next year to figure out how we want to go about this long-term. So it's really 4 days with a 1:30 release on a Friday. We surveyed staff for when the best time would be for that. So it'd be 4 Fridays, 1 kind of each quarter. Students would be dismissed at 1:30. All staff would stay on site and work on those things kind of we were talking about. Now that we've figured out those needs, we'll start figuring out what we have with after-school activities. If we have after-school activities and students need to stick around, we might have to bring in like some subs for supervision or those kinds of things to bridge that gap. But we'll figure that out here over the summer. We picked Fridays because it's the end of the week. It doesn't have that ripple effect if you put it at the start of the week. 1:30, we already have a 1:30 release that works with busing in cooperation with the other partner elementary schools. So that, kind of fit into what we already had in place there. Those are the proposed dismissal days. I also don't want to misrepresent. There are staff that do not like this as an idea, right? Don't want to lose any instructional time with students. So I don't want to misrepresent that everybody loves this and thinks it's a great idea. But we think it's the best idea for now in the short window of time we have heading into next year. Gets us the ask that many people have asked for and gives us a school year to figure out a long-term plan for how we're going to do this. But we also want to be responsive to that feedback that we're hearing through those surveys.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So is this for everybody or just support staff? Because
It's all staff.
Okay, good. Okay.
All staff at 1:30 will be released because that 1:30 schedule has a lunch period built into that school day. We can go directly from student dismissal right into work for a 2-hour chunk of time at the end of the day.
So what has to be built behind this is the programming of it all, because I assume we're going to
Correct.
have programming that supports each role, right?
Correct.
Because the custodial would need, or perhaps could need the same thing that, their teaching staff could need.
Yes.
Okay.
right? So this year, as we worked through all of our job responsibilities on the administrative team, we identified who owned all of that, and then it would be their work through the summer. For our certified staff, our teachers, the principals would be working closely with their building leadership team and department chairs to determine what each individual department really needed to work on. And then with the other groups, that would be really a combination of administrators, but in the building, Ken and Omar really would be focusing on most of those groups and planning for that. And that's kind of summer work leading into the next school year.
No, I like it, and I'm will be curious to see after the staff gets into it how they feel about it. Because there's times where I feel like, oh, I don't need to do that because I want to continue to dig into my work, and then I find, which this has happened in a lot of major corporations, I find that I'm like, I needed to do that. Didn't want to do it, but I did need to do it after we, start and start building through, the importance of it for us and the curriculum or whatever they've developed for us. So.
And one of the metrics in our indicators and measures is getting that staff feedback after each of those professional development opportunities to get in real time what our staff thought of that, and then closing that gap, right, between expectations and how we actually performed in that, so that that experience gets better over time.
So that's 8 hours of time. Does that mean we have to add an extra day of school? Or?
No, our day is actually long enough that a 1:30 dismissal meets the state requirement of hours in a school day, the minimum hours. So those will count as official school days.
Okay. And how are these days different than institute days?
Institute days tend to be a full day, and staff are moving between a variety of experiences, and many of those are more building focused. What we're trying to do is get down to the actual course team, so that like biology course team can be looking at grading practices or assessment practices on that team specifically. So this would be a lot more focused time at that level, or like exactly what does the security team need around an emergency plan or practices, or like getting into that small level where in-services days tend to be more meta, more like building-wide or district-wide focused tasks.
Do you guys generally have a curriculum or programming around? You already know what you're going to do for those type of days, right?
Yes.
And whereas
We're
this-
working on those, like, we're working on the in-service days when teachers come back. We've been working on that since like
Right.
November.
And these could be a little bit more, I would assume, Dawn, a little bit more, not free-flowing, but you have more autonomy over
Correct.
what the need is and addressing that need is what I would assume.
And it could be more in real time too,
Right.
like it, let's say in November, the English team just had a bunch of assessments go out and they came back and now they want to dig into specific questions, or, I mean, there's all kinds of things, or grades at that point of time, or students that aren't successful at that. Like, there's a variety of things that they can do to respond to real-time needs, as well as the overarching things they're working on across the year in the building as well.
I know you addressed the like early release and supervising kids and all that. Do you expect any community kind of like, does the community typically not love when we have extra days of early release, or what's your expectation of the reaction to that?
I think, yeah, there's going to be people that don't like this as an idea or a plan, or don't like any time when students aren't actively learning in their classroom. The counter to that is if we make a better classroom learning experience, we make up for that, lost time with students. So there's a balance there. That's why we're like 4 times throughout the year to check in. And then I'd like to work with the DGA. We bargain next year, and with our whole leadership team to kind of look at, especially for those other groups, right, that are generally supervising students during the day and don't have a release time during the school day. How do we maybe work creatively to make this work within the larger schedule of the year? But it's a lot of moving parts, and it's a slow move where we clearly heard from all of our employees that we needed to respond in some way to these things. This is a way. I don't know if it's necessarily long-term the best way, but it is the quickest way that we can respond to that heading into the next school year. So the board actually approves this tonight by approving the calendar. Okay, so it is, when you take action on the calendar today, you're by default also approving this plan. Any other questions? All right. Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee, I'm going to invite Scott forward here. He led this committee. I'll let him take it from here.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So we met last Monday at Downers North, and our group was a little bit smaller this time, but I always say that we're small and mighty. We get a lot of good feedback. So what I thought I would do is just kind of quickly just go over kind of our topics that we went through, and thank Ken and Chris who attended as board members, and then our staff. Obviously, we had some staff present, so I thank them. So the first topic that we went over is our PATH coordinators, Patrick and Nicole, talked about the in-school intervention, and we looked at some data surrounding that. And then some of the feedback that we got from that is that the group really looked at, we're not doing out-of-school suspension, so we're keeping students in school, and even a family member commented on that. That was excellent support for their students. So, and then we moved to talk about our SAP coordinators, which is our student assistant program coordinators, which is Anania and Keith, worked on or showed us some data on prevention and looking at trend data. And I will say from one of the pieces that we looked at from their data is that I think it was from like 2016 to current, we have seen a decline in a lot of the substance abuse. So that's good work from them on prevention. And so we appreciate the support that you guys give to have those positions. We moved into chronic absenteeism. We didn't do a lot of data on that, but we wanted to share with the team about pretty much every absence from school counts towards being chronically absent. So I think sometimes, parents might think, oh, I have a mental health day that my student can use. Yes, they absolutely can use that, but that does count towards that chronic absenteeism. So we wanted to share a little bit about that. One of the feedbacks that we got from one of the parents from the survey that we sent out to get feedback after the meeting, they actually said, it's really hard to navigate home access center and to really understand, the attendance and things like that. So obviously I'll be working with Travis on that one because we are moving to a new system in a few years, but we'll also look at it for next year and see what we can do based on that comment. We did bring forward some cell phone data in terms of, if you recall, last year we also brought it to the parent-teacher advisory, and we were looking at just changing our practice with that to support teachers. We anticipated and we saw a spike in our discipline code violation for cell phones for this current school year. We kind of thought, based on our changes, that would happen. And we had a good discussion on that as a group. And then Gina presented on it.
I asked, did any parents
sure.
have feedback on that topic in the group?
Yeah, I mean, we had feedback, and Ken can jump in too, but we had feedback on Evanston is trying a new pilot for next year in terms of like locking up cell phones or something like that. And then there was definitely feedback on, would we ever consider even going, further with our supports for, trying to limit cell phones in the
Taking it
schools.
further than we've already
Yeah,
taken
so,
it.
and
Okay.
we always look at that, so
Yep.
we're obviously processing the uptick in our data to see that. And then, we'll see how Evanston does, with that. But yeah, no, there was definitely not a lot of discussion on it. It was a little smaller piece this year. Last year, there was a lot of discussion on it, but something that we're gonna keep looking at in that, so.
I think, like Scott mentioning that one, I think most high schools in the area are trying different things to respond to that. I would imagine within the next couple of years, you're going to see kind of a industry standard response to how schools should be addressing this in a way that balances all the competing interests.
And then the final topic was the consolidated district plan that Gina presented on. And one of the feedbacks that one of the parents had after the meeting was talking about that they would love to see data surrounding our EL population of students from performance, from behaviors, things like that. So we appreciate that comment. And Ken, I don't know if you have any things that you want to comment on.
Well,
the meeting.
the meeting was excellent. I thought it was very well attended. It was an excellent meeting. As far as the cell phone policy and talking to the teachers that were present, they all appreciated the revisions and improvements we have made to the cell phone policy, and it does help them. It's not a magic wand. It's definitely a moving thing, but it was very much appreciated, and they have noticed a difference in the classroom, which is what we hope to see. Interestingly enough, a lot of times when the students are on their cell phone, guess who they're talking to? Their parents. And both the parents, teachers, and us had a chuckle about that, but that is the case, as Scott can attest to when he was dialoguing with his son while he was in class. So that was interesting. And then with regard to the PATH program, PATH, if you don't know, stands for Pause, Ask, Think, and Heal. And the great thing about this is, yes, the student has a violation, has some sort of behavior issue that needs to be corrected, but they're not being put out of the school, out just to sit and mull in it. They are still within the student population, they're still within the building, and they're still being educated. It's a different type of education because they're pausing, they're being asked to think about it, what you did and how it affected other people, including yourself, and then they're reintegrating back into the classroom. And the teachers which were there were very receptive to the fact that they can reach out to that student, even while they're in that 3-day suspension, make sure they're still getting their assignments, still trying to stay on top of what they need to. So I just think it's a phenomenal program that we have, as opposed to just sending the child home and expecting them to come back a better person. So that was really, really inspiring, really encouraging, and very innovative on our part.
Yeah, when we put that program into place, I'll call back to former Principal Ed Schwartz, who said that discipline was one of the few areas in which we didn't have a learning mindset in how we were responding to it, right? Everything else here is about teaching and learning, but discipline, that wasn't the focus, right? It was more punitive, right? Punishing.
Right.
I think the programming that we've looked at, under the leadership of our principals and our deans and our associate principals, Scott, has really driven us more in this direction of how can we make this a learning supportive experience for our students rather than punitive.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to definitely compliment Dr. Karen Taylor and the work that she's put in with regards to that program. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and Dr. Kelly Zerner as well, both of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was gonna say, is it where the students are all the students that have in-school suspension, they're in a room at a controlled?
Yeah, so we do have an in-school intervention room at both buildings, and then the PATH program is really looking at our B code violations, which is the more significant violations, and then working on a restorative practice and just kind of wraparound support, for that student and the family to then try to hope that behavior doesn't continue. And I will say the data that we, that we collect and look at, we do look at that, and our recidivism rate is definitely going down, and it's showing the success of the program. I mean, we're not perfect, but we're striving for that. And like I said, one of the parents sent a feedback and said that their student unfortunately had a B code violation, was in the PATH program, and just couldn't speak highly enough of not just having the student at home, that they had the wraparound support. They even actually did a restorative practice with the student that they were having an issue with, and figured out a way to deal with it. So I think that's really what we want to do. So
I also like to highlight the teachers and the staff which are in those rooms, because they really have to have a lot of patience, a lot of empathy to really connect with those students. And as they mentioned that night, it's really interesting. A lot of times that is a pivot point for those students in their high school career. And a year or two later, they still remember that person in that room that helped them through that time. And that is one of their go-to people within the school when they, run into other challenging situations. So they definitely need to be thanked and appreciated for all their patience, dedication, and hard work.
I agree. Any other questions?
Just one other comment, your thing about the home access center. As a parent, I do struggle with that calendar as well. And I was thinking, just connecting some dots when Jill
It's
presented.
on my list of things to do.
Yeah, well, when Jill talked about
the
facelift for the website and understanding there's a lot of systems underneath that you can't connect, totally get that. But like
We'll
some
look
kind
at
of
it.
summary as you log in, because once I became aware of that issue, I tried for my own child to go in and that's so if we want parents to be part of that process and be watching, it's just so anyway, I was just thinking that I'm sure that's on Jill's radar, but as you think about the website, one of the communication tools. So anyway, appreciate you raising that.
Yeah, it's just that system is one that isn't being upgraded anymore, and that's why we're leaving it. So part of this is just transitioning to another system. That won't happen for next year, it'll be for the year after that, because that's a pretty heavy lift, but, looking for tools that are better at communicating with families.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, English department novels, it's an action item later this evening. We started going out to bid for these several years ago. This is the same practice we've done for a while. It's up for a recommendation tonight that we accept the lowest responsible bid that was submitted for those 181 titles, around 15,000 books, the total cost of $121,840.91. Any questions on that process?
Just one question. I noticed there was one that did not bid, and so their bid doesn't count. Are they
Right.
aware that they should be bidding on all of them?
Yes,
Okay.
Yep. They're just not considered a responsible bidder because they didn't respond for all of the pieces. All right, ISB Consolidated District Plan. Here is Gina to present on the Consolidated District Plan that encompasses many of our major grants.
Good evening. So every year I bring the Consolidated District Plan to the board either in May or June. The Consolidated District Plan is required to be submitted annually. It covers all of the grants that are listed on this screen, and it's actually a series of questions. And it is multiple pages of questions that focus on several different areas. And I've divided them in the document that's listed in board docs into those different areas. The items in red are new to the plan. It doesn't mean they're necessarily new to the district or new to our schools, but they were added to the plan. So for example, under student achievement and timely graduation, we now have more dual credit classes than we did a year ago. So we updated that information. The board approved in December a course called Modern Rhetoric, which is a transition English course. So we now not only have a transition math course, which is PQL, Preparation for Quantitative Literacy, but we also now have a transition English course. The first year, it will only count towards College of DuPage, but after that, we plan to go for portability, which means that it would count at any community college in the state, which is the case with our transition math course. So those are a couple of additions to one section of the plan. The other part of that section that's been updated is, as you may know, the state just declared last week that we are moving away from the SAT and the College Board's suite of assessments. The state is now moving to the ACT and their lead-in tests, the pre-ACT, so the plan has been updated to reflect that. There's another section in the plan that talks essentially about how to meet the needs of our at-risk learners. And one of the things that Scott said that I think is really important is that at the meeting we had a couple of weeks ago, was it a week ago, a couple of weeks ago, we received input, and that input focused on EL. And that was sort of interesting to me because the first year that we did the Consolidated District Plan, and I held several meetings, one of the recommendations that came out was that we need more Spanish support, and we need it specifically at North High School. So in other words, we didn't have an interpreter or a translator at North High at that time. And what's interesting to me is that every year that has become a focus area and an area that we have expanded in the Consolidated District Plan through meetings like the one we just had. So it's very interesting to think about. That has evolved to a full-time position, and that person supports both buildings, both north and south. Another area that came out of it was expanding our EL Summer Enrichment Program. So we have a summer enrichment during the summer school time EL program. We have seen enrollment in that more than double in the last couple of years. We've also adopted a reading program, an English program, Lexia. It's a software program that we are using now at both schools with our EL learners, specifically our EL Level 1 learners. So those that are newcomer Level 1, lower level English learners. And then also, as we talked a little bit about attendance, we are working and partnering with the ROE on AIM, an attendance intervention monitoring system, which really focuses not just on a curriculum, but also kind of incentives for students as we work on chronic absenteeism. And certainly trying to get our students to be in attendance. A couple of other areas involve professional development, which we heard earlier about our Institute Day and our speaker, focus on some of the common experience work that we've been doing the last couple of years. There's been a few changes in the plan asking specifics about how we provide a safe learning environment for our students. We've been doing bystander training and we'll continue to do that into next year. In terms of college and career readiness, we are in the process of moving to School Links. We have been using Naviance. For next year, we'll be just using School Links to basically substitute for what Naviance we've been doing with Naviance for the last few years, but our plan is to expand that over the course of the next year or two.
That's also reflected in the indicators and measures you'll be seeing.
Thank you. In addition, the bilingual service plan, which was a completely separate plan, was incorporated a few years ago into the Consolidated District Plan. You can certainly see that we are providing a lot of professional development. I wanted to point that out. We have now the past year or two provided professional development focused specifically on working with EL, English learners, and bilingual students that we will continue into next year. And we also adopted last year Elevation, which is a computer dashboard program that enables us to do many things. One, tracking student achievement and scores relative to our English learners, but it also has translation built into it. So for example, we are now in the process of informing families of what their access score was. English learners are required every year to take a test called the Access Test. We're able to do that in multiple languages through that program. There's also instructional aspects of the program that we're looking to expand in future years. So that is a very brief summary of the plan, which hasn't changed a lot. There's just been slight changes. It's a very comprehensive plan. It includes a lot of what you've heard in terms of interventions and will continue to evolve.
Questions for Gina?
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina.
The proposed Board of Education meeting calendar, Julie has put this together and has followed the format of previous years. Workshop meetings first Monday of the month, business the third, no workshop in July, and some meetings get adjusted due to holidays. The actual calendar is in your board packet. Any questions on that?
So in September, we've got back-to-back meetings on, the 9th and 16th, and I'm assuming that we're following that because of the holiday on the 2nd being Labor Day, and we're trying to stick with the business meeting being on the 3rd Monday of the month. Is there any thought of potentially trying to break those up and move the business meeting to the 23rd as opposed to keeping it at the third week so that we're not back-to-back?
I have no concerns with it. I don't know. If
I just didn't know if there were any
paying
other.
bills, does that make a difference going from, that's a month with like 5 weeks in it, so going from the 16th to the 23rd, we're good? I'd much rather not have back-to-back weeks with
Me
board
too,
meetings.
me too, me too. Does anyone have any objection to that? Board members?
No.
I just didn't know if there was any, like, school activities on the 23rd that would prevent a board meeting or
There
something.
might be, but we're up against school activities all of the time, so we tend to plan our business and then the rest kind of happens around us.
So we're going to vote on this tonight. Can we vote on it
Sure.
with
An
an amendment?
Amended as
Okay.
reflecting that the board meeting in September would be on the 23rd instead of the 16th. Sure.
Okay. No
That's why we
objection?
discuss it before we get to action.
No objection to that?
Nope.
All right.
That was my only comment.
Any others? All right, hearing none. That'll be up, action, we'll make sure that we do it as the amended with that change.
Julia will help me with that, I'm sure.
I'm sure she will. Don surveyed the board with Julie's help about board committee liaison appointments. These are the recommended ones for next year. Don, this is kind of your item, not mine.
Yeah, I think it speaks for itself. I think everybody got what they asked for, so any comments or questions?
I noticed it'll take effect tonight. So there was assessment meeting coming.
Do they
up.
take effect immediately? Is that, or do we wait until the end of the fiscal year of the school district?
I think it's the, yeah.
The fiscal, like this,
Fiscal
because the
year.
Downsville Plan Commission is this fiscal year of the school.
Okay, so July 1?
July
July
1.
they would take
Okay,
effect.
because I read that and I'm like, if, I know I have something coming up next week.
Yeah.
So this is what I
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
We'd still go next week, and then.
Okay.
We still have to communicate with those organizations and let them know those
Yeah,
changes.
I'm okay with that. I just read it and it felt like it said.
Okay,
immediate.
sorry for the
Yeah,
confusion.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, July 1 is when it would all go into effect. So that's an action item this evening as well. District depositories, this comes up every year at this time. Formally, the board needs to approve those that we're authorized to use. And it's the authorized signers for the building and those for the district. So it's kind of just a yearly thing that we need to formally act on.
Okay.
Freedom of information requests, we have received them, we have responded to them, and they are available on our website if you search for FOIA.
Okay, we'll move to the consent agenda. Hank, as I was reviewing the consent agenda before the meeting, there's a memo from you about finalizing this year's school calendar. And I think there were some typos about the dates, because I think you're asking May, I'm sorry?
I'm going to, so I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. In the memo, it's referencing May 28th through 31st of 2023, and June 3rd of 2023 is not being school days.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, so
Should be
the-
the 24th.
Yes, sir.
So other than that, I didn't have any comments on the consent agenda. So before the board votes on the consent agenda, is there any agenda item a board member would like to pull out of the consent agenda for further discussion?
We pull out the board meeting calendar, so you vote for that separately as amended.
As
Or we
amended.
could just put it in.
Or I could read it.
As
When I
amended.
read it, and
Yep.
I'll say as amended.
Okay.
As amended.
And I'll do the same thing for the item G.
Okay.
Okay? So I need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes A, personnel report, appointment, administration, appointment certified, leave of absence certified, leave of absence classified, appointment classified, transfer of position classified. B, personnel report, resignation certified, resignation classified. C, April treasurer's report and April financial pages. D, student trips. E, SACID Governing Board, Board of Directors alternate appointment resolution. F, resolution of nomination for membership on Downers Grove Plan Commission. G, the 2023-2024 final school calendar as amended to reflect the 2024 dates as being removed. Item H, 2024-2025 proposed Board of Education meeting calendar as amended to reflect the September meeting date as of September 23rd. And item I, 2024-2025 proposed amended school calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Kara, and then Ken.
Thank you. Eric Caston.
Aye.
Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller. Aye. And Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries.
Before we move on, I'd like to recognize that Mr. Phil Howard is in the audience. Just wave here, Phil. And if you'd like to shake his hand at the end, that's who you just approved as our next Chief Technology Officer. Congratulations.
I'm very excited about this implementation.
You're the one.
Welcome.
All right, then item 8, recommendations for action. Julie, do you want a separate motion for each of these?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So item A, can I get a motion for the Board of Education to approve the lowest responsible bid of $121,840.91 from BookPal to provide novels for the 2024-2025 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Karen, Ken again?
Thank you. Kara Caston.
Aye.
Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller. Aye. Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. Item B, can I get a motion for the Board of Education to approve the resolution authorizing depositories and to authorize the district administration to complete and sign all appropriate documents required to maintain district accounts at the depositories as listed?
So moved.
Sherelle moved.
Second.
Ken seconds.
Thank you. Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Kara Caston.
Aye.
And Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. And then item C, can I get a motion for the Board of Education to approve the Illinois State Board of Education Consolidated District Plan as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Ken moves and Kara seconds.
Thank you. Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Kara Caston.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
And Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. Hank, any old business?
Nope.
And any new business?
Yes, Policy Committee, the list of the first reading of policies is in there for you to review. There's a key one that we spent a good amount of time talking about, which was advertising related to board policy. Travis will be coming at the next board meeting to talk about that with specifics, so I don't feel like we need to dig into that at this meeting. This is for your kind of month preview to give it a read, give it a look. If you have questions, you can reach out to myself or Don or Chris, who serve on that committee, and they'll be back in June for final approval. Don, anything I missed there?
No, just it's 8.25, and I would recommend each of you to read it thoroughly and be familiarize yourself with it before our next meeting.
And Travis will present on it with specifics on June 3rd. All right.
Julie, any other receptions of visitors for tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. Kara, I think you attended the last LEN meeting, is that correct?
I did.
Are you prepared to report on LEN since Jenny's not
I
here?
can report on it.
Thank you.
So it was last week, and we met in person, the 1 or 2 person meetings a year. They kind of hit on the sort of legislation of interest. Some of this is moving, some of it's not, but I'll just sort of list it out. It was related to deep fake photos, use of multi-use buses for special education, financial literacy, dual credit, newcomer funding, discipline, retirement savings plan, special ed funding. Those were kind of the ones they talked through and kind of gave quick updates. I think the session had a few more days left. They would keep the group apprised. I thought this was cool. They mentioned that the Illinois Teacher of the Year was from DuPage. I thought it was very cool. A fifth grade
204, yeah.
a fifth grade teacher, so that's a big honor for DuPage. Talked briefly about the dues increasing slightly, 5%, because a larger district left LEND and a smaller district joined, but that passed. And I thought it was interesting, they talked about a new subcommittee for LEND this year on federal legislation, which they typically have not had, but they had sort of some federal funding that schools rely on had been at risk, and they sort of got in there and got a lot of support at the federal level and actually increased some of that funding, and so that will continue to be a focus for the organization to stay on that funding, that federal funding. They introduced a new board member who's replacing Dawn, someone I think who has a lot of experience on LEND, so she seemed very happy to be joining. And they also honored retiring, I don't know if it was a mix of board members and superintendents.
We had a couple of business managers and one
Oh, okay.
superintendent. Yeah.
And they highlighted Melissa
Kaskowski.
Kaskowski, who's superintendent of 41 in Glen Ellen, right? So she was there and had obviously a long history with the organization and well-respected. And then they basically just went over the calendar dates for next year. And I think that was it. Very
That's
productive
pretty much
meeting.
it. Yeah, we're waiting to see this week how, the biggest thing is the state budget that they're keeping a close eye on, and a few pieces of legislation. They're supposed to be done by, I think, the end of the week, but we'll see how that actually plays out. I'm doubtful.
I loved her comments. So she was like, you know, things are moving, things are not moving, but she was like, but nothing truly dies in Springfield.
Nothing ever dies.
Nothing ever dies. So that was it.
Thanks for the update, Kara. At the very least, maybe they should look at you being recording secretary. Okay, from SACID.
We have
did we
meetings
have any
upcoming.
meetings?
I meet on Wednesday, and then I think, Sherelle, you're next
Okay.
week, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have more to report next month. It's, really looking at scheduling for next year and facilities and those kinds of, and there's a new kind of budgeting formula that SACID is looking to use for next year. So that's all the stuff that Sherelle and I will be looking at over the next couple of weeks.
And then we got a report from the Education Foundation, and Terry's not here tonight, so I think we can skip the foundation. Ken, anything to report from IASB?
Nothing spectacular. Obviously, moving forward towards the annual convention in November, which will be exciting. They're also putting out, they have a new document which they've put together on recruiting new potential board members. So obviously, having a succession plan for our board is very important. So I will be reviewing that, and we'll report back to the board on it next time. And it's a step in the right direction for all of us.
Yeah, next year is one of those school years where we'll go through our typical process of, we don't recruit board members as
Yeah,
the
I was
administration,
gonna
but
say.
we inform those that are interested in
Right,
becoming
right.
board members of what the job is, and usually the board president helps me along with that, just so that people know the process and kind of know what they're signing up for, and I think
I think that's
people in
the most
room
important
engaged in
thing.
that, so.
The most important thing is people have a true understanding of what it takes to be on the board and what the expectations are.
Yeah, it's a job unlike no other.
A very rewarding job like no other.
I would say so. Okay. And I think our upcoming board meetings are next Monday, or actually, not next Monday.
Two Mondays.
Two
Next
Mondays. June 3rd, 2024 is a workshop meeting at 6:30 here at the ASC, and then followed in June 17th will be our business meeting for the month at 6:30 here, also at the ASC.
Before we close, I'd just like to thank board members for attending and supporting graduations yesterday. We had great days, and thank you to the buildings for all of the work that they did for those. The only thing I'm responsible for was I picked a beautiful day. So it worked out great, and it's always fun to have everybody out there celebrating at home in their stadium, and I look forward to next year with video scoreboards going in the background during those times. So thank you, board members, for being there.
I'm not looking forward to next year's graduation, to be honest.
Yes, you are.
No.
Why?
You'll be a little weepy.
You were definitely looking forward to that.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Kara moves, Ken seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.